Hello, fellow pet lovers. I'm Leigh Krueger, CEO and President of Nestle Purina PetCare, and these are my dogs, Guinness and Caffrey. Purina is proud to sponsor today's Pet Week on the Hill session, Pet Legislation Saving Lives on Both Ends of the Leash. Since you're watching this, I know you care deeply about pets and the people who love them. At Purina, our passion for pets includes bringing and keeping pets and people together in good times and in tough times. Today you'll meet two amazing experts Purina is proud to partner with, Nicole Forsyth at Red Rover and Nicole Lanahan at Got Your Six Support Dogs. They both have heartwarming stories about how pet legislation is helping save lives on both ends of the leash. This includes how the public and private sectors are working together to create a more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters and to train more service dogs for military veterans living with PTSD. For all you do for pets, thank you. Now I'll hand it off to Steve Feldman, Executive Director of HABRI.
Thank you, Nina Lee, for your leadership, and thank everyone at Purina for your leadership on this very important issue. And we're so grateful to Purina for supporting Pet Week on Capitol Hill. I'm so excited that we have with us Nicole Forsyth, President and CEO of Red Rover. Red Rover is a nonprofit whose mission is to support pets and people in crisis and to support the human-animal bond. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you.
Now, Nicole, we're here to talk about domestic violence and pets. I think many people in our audience would be surprised to hear how few domestic violence shelters can accommodate pets. Tell us why this is such an important issue.
I think a lot of domestic violence shelters really don't feel they're equipped to deal with pets. You know, their expertise is in the human services, not the animal services. And there's also a lot of fear over allergies, safety concerns. And so unfortunately, because of that, only 15% of domestic violence shelters currently accept pets other than service animals.
Only 15%. So that means the vast majority can accept pets. And tell us why that's a problem. I mean, so many people won't leave unless they can take their pets with them.
That's so true. Close to 50% of people say they delayed leaving because of concerns over what was going to happen to their pets. And unfortunately, pets are often used in the power and control parts of domestic violence. So we know it's really important for survivors to leave with their pets. And we also know that 25% of them go back if they haven't left with their pets to begin with. So the abusers will use the pet and use that bond that people have with pets to get them to come back. And that is certainly not something that we want to see.
So it's obviously an important issue that we have to tackle to save people's and pets' lives. And fortunately, Congress actually did take some action in 2018 as part of the Farm Bill. The Pet and Women's Safety Act actually passed Congress. And so tell us how that's been helping people and what that has accomplished.
Yes, thanks. This incredible bipartisan support. We now have up to $3 million a year. That is for federal funding. That's administered by the Department of Justice, and that has done so much to help some of these domestic violence shelters develop pet-friendly programs. So we're really hoping that we continue to see this funded so that more shelters can continue to apply. And we're there on the Red Rover side to help with all of the training and the support, sample protocols, policies, to really make sure that they have the support they need, the technical assistance they need to develop these programs. So the funding is one part and the training and education is the other part.
Glad you mentioned funding, because I was going to ask you, what can members of Congress do to be active and supportive on this issue?
Yes, continuing to make sure this gets funded each year is really important.
In the annual appropriations process now, it's part of the agricultural appropriations because it originally passed as part of the Farm Bill, correct?
Yes.
So we want every member of Congress to really participate and support full funding for the Pet and Women's Safety Act. So that's what's happening on the federal side. But I can't help but notice a purple leash in the background, and Purina and Red Rover have partnered for several years now on the Purple Leash project, which is an important private sector effort. Tell us about that.
Yes, this project, Purple Leash project, has been incredible for building awareness, not only for the domestic violence shelters, but also for survivors so that they know that there are actually resources to help them with their pets. And so we're getting the word out through some of the Purina brands. We're getting more donor support. We give out these leashes for donors who join us and become monthly donors. And our donors love this. They love the cause. They're very supportive of this. It's also helping us get excitement amongst the domestic violence shelters because they want to be part of something. They recognize the name, they recognize the brand, and it brings some validity to the issue and the cause. And the purple leashes really help make this cause very visible to people. It's a nice visible reminder of that bond that we share with animals. And so it's really done a lot to build awareness and support. So Purina also helps fund some of our grants that we do. So we give out grants as well, up to $60,000 for domestic violence shelters that maybe have smaller projects or they want to start small. And getting the funding from Purina has been incredible to help make that possible.
With these grants, can you give me a couple of examples maybe of what a domestic violence shelter might be able to do with those grants to become more pet friendly?
Yeah, so as I mentioned in the beginning, a lot of times they're really worried about things like allergies and fear, safety concerns. So really what we're doing is helping them create, based on what their layout is, a space that they have, we help them develop a program that will best meet their needs. So it may be that they can do outdoor kennels. So it could be the money goes to building outdoor kennels. They could have indoor rooms that are fine for housing pets, but maybe they have carpet, and carpet is horrible for pet allergies. So removing the carpet, putting down a very pet appropriate flooring, putting an enrichment in the room so cats can stay in room, but maybe they have a little place they can run around on the walls and climb and go into litter boxes that are kind of discreetly both furniture and kitty litter box. So all different kinds of projects to make it really easy to house pets on site, ways to take up very little space. So a lot of times we hear from domestic violence shelters that space is an issue, but we have been really creative and working with some of our partners, like Greater Good Charities, to help create very space innovative, where they can still have the pets and the people can be safe away from pets if they don't want to be near the pets. So it's really all about how you design it, putting the bond, keeping the bond in mind, giving space for people to hang out with their pets, as well as space for the pets to be pets.
Just practical ways to reinforce the human animal bond. Okay, so if we have folks who might benefit from these grants, either the federal grant program or the Red Rover grants, where can they go to learn more about it?
Definitely going to redrover.org is a great way to learn more about the grants that we offer, as well as the support we can give to those who are interested in applying for the federal funding. And then purpleleashproject.com for people who want to learn more about how to get involved in this awareness campaign. Domestic Violence Awareness Month is coming up, and it's a great time to just figure out what we're doing and how people can help support that.
That's great. And we'll make sure that we put on our website the location for the federal grant program as well. I should point out that the Human Animal Bond Research Institute and Red Rover and Nestle Purina are all part of the Pause Act Coalition, which have been working together with a number of other important organizations to bring this issue to the fore and support important policies in Congress and beyond. And so we're just so proud to be your partners. Let's talk about the future for a second. You have some goals. We talked about only 15% right now are pet friendly. Where would you like to see domestic violence shelters be in terms of pet friendliness for the future?
Well, it's been so amazing to be a part of this because when we first started getting into this space, only 3% of domestic violence shelters accepted pets. And so to see the growth already that's happened is so inspiring because there's this clear problem, clear need, and we have the solution. We just need to make these spaces pet friendly. And so our goal now that we know it works, we know how to do it, is to get to 25% of domestic violence shelters housing pets on site by the year 2025.
That's amazing. And we're going to do that right but with these practical solutions. Talk about how you're going to get there.
Yeah, so we know really clearly what the barriers are. We know domestic violence shelters are already overwhelmed. They have a lot of challenges already. And what is so impactful about this program is they quickly understand that we're really there to support them. We're there to make this easy, to give them the policies, the procedures, the program designs, the ideas for what to do with their space. And we put this all together. We work with Greater Good Charities, as I mentioned earlier, to develop this new website called don'tforgetthepets.org. And this website has training webinars, a coaching program, a forum, sample policies, ways for veterinarians to get involved and support their local domestic violence shelter and community. And so it really, we put all of the learning we've developed over the years that we've been doing this into this website and into what we offer for technical assistance. And so I just feel like not only domestic violence shelters get excited about this, but they feel a lot of support. And I think that domestic violence often has a really hard time finding supporters. People do a lot of victim blaming when it comes to domestic violence. And one of the most amazing things I've seen when I talk to people is an increase in empathy towards domestic violence survivors. Because when you bring the pet into it, they suddenly understand a little bit more about how hard it is to leave. That the part of the manipulation and control that keeps someone in abuse, when they have a tangible example of that with this human-animal bond and this relationship, they start to understand what's going on and they feel more support than they want to help. So that's been amazing too. So I think domestic violence shelters and advocates see that as well. And they just feel part of a bigger movement towards helping people in the community and all the creative ways we can do that by collaborating.
Nicole, you're doing such important work. Red Rover is doing such important work. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to Nestle Purina for being such a strong advocate on this issue, and for being part of Pet Week. We'll make sure all these resources are available so that everyone watching can access these important websites. Again, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to talk about the life-saving role of a properly trained service dog and how that can help military veterans living with PTSD and post-combat mental health challenges. I'm joined by Nicole Lanahan, Executive Director at Got Your Six Support Dogs, whose mission is to help veterans and first responders with PTSD to regain their lives through the healing power of dogs. Got Your Six is based in Illinois, and Nicole also serves on the board of the Association of Service Dog Providers for Military Veterans, which sets standards for these service dogs. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you so much.
Now, Nicole, I want to start off with kind of a sobering statistic. As many as 20 military veterans will commit suicide every day. And we know that a service dog can be tremendously helpful to prevent suicide. Can you tell us what the research says about that?
Absolutely. What we know roughly 3.5 million military veterans suffer from PTSD. And we know, thanks to Habry partnering with Purdue University, that service dogs, trained PTSD service dogs, really reduce the overall symptoms of PTSD. And that includes reducing the symptoms of suicidal behaviors and ideology. It's important to note, too, that PTSD service dogs are not the same as emotional support dogs or the same as even therapy dogs. PTSD service dogs are very highly trained and must be able to perform medical tasks as defined by the Americans with Disabilities Act in order to mitigate the symptoms of their handler's disability. We know that research has demonstrated properly trained service dogs can reduce the symptoms of PTSD through those medical tasks, such as compression therapy during anxiety attacks, recognizing and interrupting harmful behaviors. All of our dogs at Got Your Six Support Dogs are trained to alert to symptoms of anxiety just as they begin before they become too severe, waking our veterans from night terrors, creating protective buffering spaces in public places, and also reteaching emotions such as love and affection, giving the veteran a safe place and a safe animal to talk to when sometimes they feel like they have no other person to talk to.
It's so important to understand the distinction between a pet or a therapy animal or an emotional support animal and a properly trained service dog. We'll make sure that we have on our website some information about the differences between those and what really constitutes a service dog under the Americans with Disabilities Act. And I know that your organization, the Association of Service Dog Providers for Military Veterans, lays out on its website some of the things that you just described. So these are highly trained dogs, and veterans can't get them. Less than 1% of veterans who might benefit from having a service dog have one. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. The main reason is cost and time. For example, a fully trained service dog can take anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5 years. And depending on whether that organization is following a community model or a national model, sometimes the cost of these service dogs can be anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000 a dog. And while this is it can seem like a really high cost, the benefits of these PTSD service dogs are life-changing. And one of the things that I like to stress about the life-changing benefits, one dog doesn't affect just one veteran. One dog affects the whole family, everybody in that veteran's household, because we know that veterans who suffer from PTSD, they have family members who then suffer from depression and anxiety. So the dog isn't just helping this one person, it's helping an entire family. And sometimes that even ripples down to affecting entire communities, depending on the impact this dog has on this veteran's life and how they then go out into the community afterwards.
Yeah, it's so important for us to see if we can get these dogs to those veterans and their families. Congress did do something about it last year, passed the Pause for Veterans Therapy Act. Can you describe what this legislation does and what's the status of this program?
Right. So this act is still in its infancy. And when it was introduced, the Pause for Veterans Therapy Act was intended to be a bill to engage veterans in need of a service dog to become involved with the training of the service dog. Now, what myself and the other members of the Association of Service Dog Providers for Military Veterans and our friends at Dog Chow with their Service Dog Salute, what we hope to see is the Pause Act making a bigger impact than even Congress first imagined. And we hope to see the Pause Act helping service dogs, PTSD service dogs, become more readily available to our service members. That's our ultimate goal.
That's fantastic. I'm glad you mentioned the Purina Service Dog Salute because, as this new federal program is ramping up, it really still falls to organizations like Got Your Six to continue to meet this critical need for veterans. And you're doing that in part through a partnership with Purina, which is helping make this session possible. So tell us a little bit about the Service Dog Salute and this partnership.
Oh my goodness. We love Purina and we love their passion for not just dogs, but our American heroes. We've partnered with Purina Dog Chow for several years as part of their Service Dog Salute. And now the Service Dog Salute is in its 5th year, and it highlights the life-changing benefits that service dogs provide to veterans experiencing PTSD. This year marks $1 million in donations to service dog organizations to help connect more military veterans with trained PTSD service dogs at no cost to the recipient. For this year's campaign, Dog Chow also partnered with the Association of Service Dog Providers for Military Veterans to launch the Visible Impact Award. And this new award celebrates the remarkable impact service dogs have on the daily lives of veterans. And it recognizes the outstanding service dogs and the organizations that have helped train them.
That's amazing. Tell us where people can go to learn more about this program. I'm thinking not only about veterans, but congressional staff often are called upon to provide resources to their constituents. So give us the websites where people can go to learn more.
Absolutely. You can go to dogchow.com/service to learn more about this great program.
That's fantastic. That's really amazing. So thinking about the future, what is it that you want people to know? And this is not just the veteran community, but anyone out there who might encounter a veteran with a service dog. What is it that we need to do out there in society to make sure we're supporting our veterans as much as possible?
Absolutely. That's a fantastic question. So our veterans out there with the service dog are now venturing into the community, something that they probably have thought wasn't possible at a certain point. So what I like to recommend to everyone is to help them feel welcome back into the world. But at the same time, please do not distract the service dog, because it is working. Even if it looks like they're not doing anything, those service dogs are trained to recognize those symptoms of anxiety as they begin. So if somebody's already in the throes of a panic attack, it's too late. These dogs are trained to notice those subtle signs. So if they're distracted, they might miss that. And then they might miss that critical moment when they're really going to be able to interrupt a behavior before it becomes explosive. So again, we always say, look, but don't touch when it comes to service dogs.
Nicole, that's such good advice. Thank you so much for joining us. We've been joined here by Nicole Lanahan, Executive Director of Got Your Six. And it's so important to us, the work that you're doing and to support our veterans. Thank you again for joining us for Pet Week.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'd like to thank all of our speakers today for participating in such an incredible, informative session. Leigh Krueger from Nestle Purina, Nicole Forsyth from Red Rover, and Nicole Lanahan from Got Your Six Support Dogs. What amazing speakers with such great information. And thank you so much to Purina for making this session possible. I also want to thank all of our Pet Week sponsors for bringing this educational program to you. Pet Week will continue later today at 4 p.m. I hope you'll tune in and watch. And remember, all of these sessions will be available on demand at petnight.com and on the Havry Facebook page. Thank you again for watching. Hope to see you soon.